or a sense of gathering. And settling into this present moment experience, however it is. And the body balanced, a sense of release, the knowing. And the knowing that we don't know. And the surprise and the interest in the present experience. As we gather, as we welcome, leaving worry and remorse, recrimination outside for now. Fear and anticipation not picked up. And this settling, in this knowing. And the sense of well-wishing, a sense of joy in reconnecting to this moment, and presence in the present, in the gift, in the present. A smile in this release, a smile in this revelation, a smile in the realization in this now here. Bringing joy in this gift, in this present. A joy in realization. Through the body, the breath, its rhythm, the energy, allowed in the release, from the base, supported, release in this moment. Accepting, welcoming, gathering, release. Any suggestions to realize the present experience. This time, this space, this time, this experience. experiencing the whole of the body. The whole of experience is given attention. It's collected, welcoming, recollected, reconnected, gathered. And the stillness and the space, realized. And the whole of life. In this gift of attention. There's a Magha Puja coming up, and the importance of patient endurance cannot be underestimated. The importance of being willing to stay with how things are. They're willing to release the urge to do something. And get something, become something, get rid of something. That urge to be patiently endured so it finds its own ending. And the heat and the frustration is transformative and purifying. The heat of the containment to just stay with something until it ends of its own accord. Strong compulsion to act, to do, to get, become, get rid of, push away. And the company of and support for that found within this fathom-long body. This is where the work gets done. Because there's nobody else that can do it for us. There's nobody else that can it's not. And also, this is the responsibility, this is the gift we have. This is the present in the present moment. This is the way. And anger and frustration, anger in English, if you add D to it, you see that it's dangerous, danger. Anger with a D in front of it is danger. And this sense of the willingness to bear this frustration or this limitation or this sense of whatever it is one experiences of inadequacy or frustration or wanting to get rid of something or wanting to get something, wanting to become something. This wanting to be nobody is another, or the belief in all of that and the pain that generates for oneself and for others is stay with that frustration, willing to endure and allow that, whatever the sensation or the experience is to be transformed in the willingness, the welcoming of it, the surrender to it, the patience with it, the willingness to bear. In this moment, in this time, here and now. And then we can forgiveness is something that we can recognize that is a way of not ignoring, not pretending, but a willingness to put the burden down so that the transformation takes place when the thing has shifted of its own accord, because there's no longer the it's seen in a new light. It's seen in a way that is released, because there's the willingness to really examine it and bear with it and transform it through awareness that this is just causes and conditions. The things that I get really frustrated about and make me angry and make me feel inadequate, or things that I don't like about myself. And these are just, they're like this, and they can be endured now. They can be born now. They can be given space to find their own end, and they can be forgiven. And forgiving oneself is really helpful. And that is acknowledging the fault, acknowledging and then not doing anything about it, but having the resolve not to make the same mistake again, or not to keep repeating the same mistakes. So if you notice there's a sense of pain coming up all the time, then what is that about? Not to try to get rid of it, but to really examine it, and then it will end. And the forgiveness of others is easier. And maybe you have to forgive others before you forgive yourself, but both are necessary. The sense of not carrying a burden, so that the thing can be, because when we carry this image of somebody who has hurt us, or if we carry this image of somebody in ourselves who's hurting ourselves, or carrying this image of I'm a person who's this inadequate, or this needy, then we make up a burden. It's a painful burden. You can bear that pain, but really notice that it's it exists due to causes and conditions, and what supports that, and what allows it to be released. Because there's always this rhythm. There's in-breath and out-breath. There's receiving and responding. This is what life is about. It's a beginning and an end and a frustration. But this is not, with the willingness to bear it, there is the possibility of transformation. The willingness to say, this is how it is. Understanding the stress and the strains. There is, when there's the sense of understanding it, there's the sense of, humility. I got this wrong. So then there's the forgiveness, because there's the acknowledgement of a mistake and the sense that it's possible to forgive. And then everybody else, they make mistakes. And because they just don't know everything all the time. There's always going to be, a rubbing up and a frustration with things, because they don't behave always the right way, and you want to get this done, and never tell a printer that you're in a hurry. It's a surefire way for the printer to start playing up. And so can you forgive the printer for not working? Can you for behaving the way that it is? It's just a machine. And then other people, the people that you know, the people that you don't know, the people you think are really hurting you, or the people you think are really idiotic, or the people you're really, really angry with. What does that do to you when you carry that around? That if you think you can't bear it, then you're going to try to say, well, I can't forgive it, and then of course this is going to be more sticky. You can get angry, and the stickiness of the anger is dangerous. But if you're willing to bear the frustration and the sense of, he's being horrible to me, she was never supposed to do that. And then listen, or feel that. Feel that hurt. Don't add to it, but allow the space that is accepting to transform it, that forgives it, and says, okay, that was a it was an expression of something that was obviously ignorant, not knowing what's happening. And it's inevitable, because this whole thing is born of ignorance, born of not knowing what's going on. This whole simplification and construct of me being here, you being there, this here, that there, this division, this joining, it is consciousness. And consciousness confused is like this. But the way that the Buddha explained it was just enough. Right? The 5 senses or the 6 senses. There's just that sensitivity in that level is the bit that we complicate and burns. And we build it into the form, feeling, perception, conception, and consciousness. This is the nature of the world. And the forgiveness is one thing, and then the reconciliation, and that requires more patience and may not, that reconciliation is a sense of trust again. And, reconciling oneself, maybe that's a slightly stretch of the word, but, the reconciling, the recollecting of this limitation and the reconnecting to that in this moment, reconciling ourselves to not so much. It's not resigning ourselves, but it's an reintegration of a relationship with this body and mind. It is not generating unnecessary additional stress. This is the embodiment of beings that don't generate additional unnecessary stress. They're reconciled to their fate. They're reconnecting, and with others, that's the beautiful friendship, and that's not needy, not demanding, not confused. At one level, doesn't really care because it just does what it does as best it can. The Lord Buddha, no, he wasn't. When his 2 chief disciples had died, and he was old, and he was in the assembly hall with all the bhikkhus. They say 500. It could have been more. It could have been a bit less. Quite a few bhikkhus. The hall now seems empty. My 2 chief disciples are gone. But isn't it wonderful? There is no grief in the heart of the Tathagata. And that extra willingness to know the sense of, oh, my two good friends are dead now. There's no more of that lot. There is that separation, but there is no grief in the heart of the Tathagata. So the separation was not painful, it was just there was no extra pain. This is, it's an indication of something to aspire to, or something to recognize, that there's possibility for forgiveness and transformation. Angulimala, 999 people killed, practicing hard, didn't kill his mother, didn't injure the Lord Buddha, realized complete awakening, and there was the consequences, but there was complete reconciliation. And when we think we've got it bad, we think, well, I can't ever forgive that person. And I just don't know. I just don't know. I know that for some, and if we can't forgive them, then we'll always have to carry that pain. If we can forgive and recognize that that action was out of ignorance, we don't have to be reconciled. That's not always necessary, because that takes an extra willingness to be sensitive. But if it's dangerous, that's the way it is. The Lord Buddha was not actually reconciled to Devadatta. That was in the too difficult pot. And that's the way that he didn't stop trying to teach Ajatasattu. He was the son of Bimbisara, his first real supporter, that killed his father. But it's he didn't also push him away. Just that's how the world worked. So I always have to feel you have to reconcile. But if you can reconcile, then that's a blessing. But you can forgive, or you can forgive yourself, forgive others. Bear with that forgiveness. Bear with the sense of the frustration of not being able to do anything about something, but being willing to let it go. Not meddling with something, just because if you don't forgive, then you keep sort of attacking something like a hole in your tooth. Your tongue keeps going to it. Why do they do that? That's how that goes. And it's more, well, that's a minor thing, but it's still, it's keeping, you're not allowing the thing to heal. And keeping carrying the burden. So I recommend forgiveness. I recommend the relief that comes from that. I recommend the forgiveness of forgiving yourself and reconnecting with that. And, the full reconciliation is when you don't keep repeating your mistakes that keep causing yourself and others more pain. And that's the reconciliation to work with. So for that, I don't know, maybe that's enough for this part of the evening or the afternoon or the morning or whenever it is. And maybe if you have some questions and want to put some questions in the type them in the chat box for now. That would be something that you might want to try. Good luck. See? Now you practice the Eightfold Path all the way through. As long as you only really begin training at stream entry. Most of us are patuginas, which is not even beginning. Maybe we have faith that maybe there is the possibility, but the real practice starts. Because there's an independence in the teacher's dispensation with that. So the practice of the path continues all the way through to full arahantship. It doesn't stop. Yeah, yes, number 2. It still leads to all 3. Also, the fruit of practices, the Eightfold Path, is not just stream entry, but also leading to the next 3 stages. It's necessary all the way through. Talking about nutriments, weren't we? That was in the nutriment one. I don't know. I can't read the Buddha's mind. What did the Buddha try to point out? I think it's just something to reflect on. The food is, and to share the food is always helpful. Always share. You can always share what you can. How to cope with people who get upset if others don't follow their own sets of rituals and rules. If you can't avoid them, you have to endure them. Yeah? If you can't avoid them, you have to endure them. You have to forgive yourself for feeling it's difficult and just keep to your... if I wanted everybody to keep... I'd really like everybody to keep the 5 precepts. As you know, particularly the second one, so you wouldn't have to forget passwords. But we'll carry keys. That's my... get your investments out of Chubb and things, and password managers. It's you can't control other people. Not even the Buddha could control other people like that. You can't make people be moral. Yeah, in groups, the group dynamic and the sense of conflict within a group. It depends on the size of the group and the trust you have in the group and the agreement of the group. There are, if you can agree on a ritual of asking for forgiveness, one from the other, and as you know, the Buddhist ritual of asking for forgiveness is one asks for forgiveness of the other, and the other gives the forgiveness, but also asks for forgiveness themselves. So it's not like a forgiveness from on high, but a ritual that you can do, which is say, I ask for forgiveness from you. And then the response is always, I forgive you, please also forgive me. And in acknowledging that there have been unskillful actions of body, speech, and mind that have in some way hurt people, then because that's always going to happen. And betrayal is that there's the feeling of you've given something precious to something that you ask them to hold in trust, and they have not kept it safe. They've passed it on, or they've used it in a way that you feel could damage you, and that's that's difficult. If the person who there's one person who feels betrayed, and there's the betrayer, or the so-called betrayer. If the betrayer can ask the person who feels betrayed, for forgiveness, yeah, and then the betrayer, the so-called betrayer, can say, whatever I've done intentionally and unintentionally, in public or in private, that has in any way hurt you, or you feel hurt by, please forgive me, can we put this down? Then the other person, the person who feels betrayed, could also say the same thing. If I've done anything, my body, speech, or mind, that has in any way been hard for you to bear, then can we also put that down? Because the person who feels betrayed made a mistake in giving something to the betrayer. Yes? Because the betrayer didn't know the preciousness of it, or the confidence that was needed. Yeah? So the betrayer, the person who was betrayed, needs to also acknowledge their mistake in misplacing their trust. Yeah? Giving something to somebody who couldn't carry it. Now that's, somebody who, the secret slipped through their hands. Does that make some sense? So it's not just, in a sense, when somebody's been betrayed, it's not just the person who betrayed's fault. The person who was betrayed must also accept their responsibility. It doesn't, there are consequences, and the trust may be difficult to build back up. But with the fact of both acknowledging their fault and forgiving each other. Don't get into too many details, not until things have settled down a bit. Use your nonviolent communication skills to not carry things too much. But just in general, to recognize that forgiveness can be a ritual that can work to advantage. And the forgiveness is not offered by somebody on high. It is offered between people. And then also for them to forgive themselves. Yeah, because that also needs to happen. They need to forgive themselves for making a mistake. Does that help? Or might help? Don't know, Harry. I don't know. I don't know what Tibetan teachings you're following, and I don't particularly mind what people do, because I actually feel that there are 84,000 Dhamma doors. So you'll find your own way, Harry. It's not going to be Tibetan or Thai forest tradition. It's going to be Harry's way, and it'll be because I think that's what we do. I think we just. I can't really say, I read all sorts of things and practice in all sorts of ways. And I do wish all beings would be enlightened, as you know. I would wish all beings to be enlightened because it would make my life easier. I'm a selfish bodhisattva. It's the way. How to attain full realization? What should one practice to get to that point? At least we'll practice the Eightfold Path. That's the only thing that will lead. There's in this tradition there's Pariyati, Patipati, and Pativedhi. Pariyati is studying, Patipati is practice, and Pativedhi is realization. Okay, so try to figure out what the Eightfold Path is within yourself, and recognize you've probably got it slightly wrong. So forgive yourself immediately for not quite understanding this tool. And then, so you study what the Eightfold Path is, and then you practice it, and then you start to realize, oh, maybe that is how it works. Maybe that is how it works. And so you keep practicing. And then you test yourself, how are my relationships with other people? Is understanding and kindness growing in my daily life? Is this actually bringing blessings to myself and to others? And you keep practicing the Eightfold Path. You study it to give it a bit more. What does Sammaditthi, Sammasankappa, Sammawaca, Sammakammanto, Sammajiva, Sammavayama, Sammasati, Sammasamadhi actually mean? And then how does that work? How does, Sammasati, I'm giving a talk in Italy on the 8th of March about that. And it's huge. Sammaditthi is really profound. All of the bits have a lot of if you pick it up almost anywhere, you get to the other bits. But really, if you want to know what to do, how to attain full realization, practice the Eightfold Path. No, that's the technique. It's a pretty complete technique. It covers pretty much everything that you could do as a human being, and turns it into something that transforms it into something that is beautiful and noble. And safe. It's extraordinarily safe, the Eightfold Path. Yeah, we're like that, aren't we? when we don't see the danger of something, any thoughts on the internal resistance to change that can occur sometimes, happens a lot in me. Lately, I've observed that many of my habits and patterns are producing neutral and even negative results, but I'm finding it hard to shift. Forgive yourself and start again. It's not, and I don't know how old you are, but how long have you been practicing stupidly? And then how long have you been practicing wisely? Give yourself time and patience for the transformation to take effect. When you come to this age at 70 and you still think you're not getting it quite right, then you can start feeling more frustrated. And this is how I feel some of the time. So don't beat yourself up. Yeah, it's how it works. Because we keeping making stupid mistakes, learning a bit quicker. But that's a way of things. Yeah, because if you start beating yourself up, and what you can notice is small increments. Yeah, notice small increments, and this is where the bodhisattva thing comes in. If you feel, well, I'm not doing this just for myself, I'm doing it for everybody. Yeah, I'm being a little bit wiser, not just for myself, but so everybody can benefit. I'm a little bit wiser so that the person I meet on the street will feel a bit better. So it's not just me trying to get something for myself. You can be generous in your practice. I'm practicing wisely so that I can teach Ajahn Vajiro because he can be so stupid. That would be better. That would help.